I say this quite sincerely. I say this seriously. When I say we are the government. Now, I know there's a lot of things happening now, particularly with Trump and his administration. They have decided to try to roll the calendar back to the 40s in terms of how we are treated as citizens. You know, there was a time when they actually had laws that demanded that white people be treated differently than black people under the law. That was just to cause separation. That's what that was about. You know, they still, a lot of white folks were still struggling and scuffling and starving and poor. Some of them dirt poor, but in their mind, they wasn't a N-word. We know what that means. In their mind. Because the law says they weren't. But they, for the most part, when it came to economics, they were treated the same. Now, they made sure that they had better opportunities to make it in this society. That was then. Now, as I say, here in Jackson and here in Hinds County, here in Mississippi, we have a unique situation. If we take stock of what we have going for us here in this state. Now, years ago, as I said, the white citizen councils and the Ku Klux Klan, with all that intimidation and murdering and lynching and harassment that they were doing, the main effort behind that was to run black people out of the state. Why was that? Because Mississippi being a slave state, you just think of it practically now and factually. Mississippi being a slave state, black people outnumbered white people 10-1. Because they were bringing way more slaves into this state, which was a wilderness at the time. It was black people, black slaves that cleared the forests to make farmland, drained the swamps to make farmland. They needed that labor, that free labor. So we outnumbered them. We outnumbered them. And that's the way it was. So when slavery was abolished, here what they were looking at is a state that is majority black. And they are supposed to be able to vote now. And then right after the Civil War during Reconstruction, we was having a majority over there in the state legislature. We were having a majority over there going to the Congress and the Senate because we outnumbered. And what they saw the handwriting on the wall, and now they see it again. They see it again. You look at the statistics right now in America. Black population in America is around 25%. We used to be the largest minority in the country. Black people did. Now it's Hispanics. So if we're at 25% and they have a greater percentage than us, they got to be over 25%. That's 50% of the population right there. It's not white. Don't you hear them talking about that? We got to save America. We got to keep America white. They see it. They hoping we don't. This is why I keep saying, yes, we need to register to vote. And we need to vote. Exercise our right. Here they're doing away with have done away with the Civil Rights Act. Come out, you can't draw districts now based on race. So they're going back and what? Redrawing districts? Why is that then? Well, if it's not for the redrawing for race, what is it for? So, these things that we have to stay mindful of. We have to stay mindful of and be aware of the impact that we can have on the society that we live in. We have to be aware. Excuse me, man. I'm trying to get my video in order here. But here we are almost 40% of the population. We can have a tremendous impact on state elections. Tremendous impact. Right now, even in, go ahead, Carl.
How you doing?
I'm good, Larry.
This is the voice, Judge, and you're on it tonight. Everybody needs to know you are on it. Judge, I want to add a little bit to what you're talking about just moments ago. You was talking about voting, and it's important that everyone understands you got to go and register to vote. And then, of course, you got to vote. It's important. Now, the upcoming election, you got to vote on November the 3rd from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m., Judge. And then absentee voting begins Monday on the 24th of September, 2026. And then, of course, it ends Saturday, October the 31st, 2026. And anybody that wishes to vote absentee, they can vote if they're required to work, Judge, on any election day. Also, if they need to vote absentee, if they'll be outside of the county on election day, or of course, if they have temporary or permanent disability, or of course, like us, Judge, they're at 65 years age to old. And also, Judge, any other reasons required by law, which stated earlier, they study changing the law when it comes to voting, but it's important that people get out and exercise the right that's been rightfully earned through people dying in the rivers, being sold in the rivers, in the lakes, in the tributary, and all of those rivers and different waterways throughout the state of Mississippi. So, Judge, you're doing right, and I commend you, and you're exactly right. And we got to cash out vote. And, of course, if they want to register to vote, they can go to the circuit clerk's office here in Jackson or Raymond, preferably here in Jackson. And, of course, once you get there, the circuit clerk will take care of all of your pre-registration needs in regards to it. And you can call them at 601-968-6640. 601-968-6640. That's the Jackson office, or junior outline here close to Raymond, 601-857-8038. 601-857-8038. And now those offices, Judge, is open from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Monday through Friday. And of course, they're not open on legal holidays. But right. I wanted to add those numbers and that information to your statement, Judge, because you're definitely on it. And it's important that people understand you got to first register to vote. And then, of course, on election day this year is on the November the 3rd, you got to go vote. Now, if you wish to absentee vote, you can vote prior to November the 3rd. But Judge, thank you so very much.
Thank you for your call, Brother Larry. Appreciate you, brother. Appreciate you.
Yes.
Very good information. And again, those who understand what they have put us through here in this state, I'm talking about as Black folks, and that's just a fact. And that's why it is so belittling when you hear those mindsets like the Charlie Kirks who want to act like we're behind them due to our own fault, ignoring the laws that were put in place to keep us from the opportunities that they had for 400 years. Now, even in this process of getting out and understanding the voting process, we're 200 years behind them. Back. It's time for us to catch up, though. Because when they realize 82 counties in the state of Mississippi, 28 of those counties are majority Black. Now, that's not even including the ones that's close to being majority Black. But if we're close to 40% of the population, that means there are others. That means that we may not be able to determine exactly who's the governor, but we can determine who won't be for a fact. We may not be able to determine who goes to the Senate exactly, but we can determine who won't go, period. Go ahead. You're on the line.
How are you, sir?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
Listen, it's fine. I'm in Alabama, so I'm older than you are. But here to say, we have realized about Mississippi, all the South. That's why the most uneducated people came from Europe. And if it had not brought people over here and enslaved them, now they didn't bring slaves over here. When our foreparents were brought over here, they enslaved them. And the South was where the most uneducated Europeans came. Caucasian, you call them white folks. They were the most, and they would have suffocated if it hadn't been for the African people whom they brought in here to clean the land and work for them because they couldn't stand the sun. There were no air conditioning, and
Right.
they could not stand the sun. So, but these are some of the meanest Europeans in the world in the South, in Florida, Mississippi, and Tennessee, because they were the most uneducated. And the uneducated people are hateful people all the time, particularly with different races. Mm-hmm. So we have to understand that, in my opinion, brother, let you go cut me off. African Americans did the wrong thing when they tried to change European exiled people. There were some good people now. There were good white people.
Right.
The most of them were mean and evil. And
because they were ignorant. Because they were ignorant. And they worked off of any information that they were given. And most of it was, as you say, was wrong. So they were just ignorant. I appreciate your call, brother. Thank you so much.
Let me make this statement, sir. And the meanest in the Southern state, the meanest people get elected because that's who most of the white people will vote for. The meanest ones, the ones that are going to keep African Americans down. Not all white people are bad, but the ones who seem to get elected are the meanest ones, in my opinion.
I agree with you. I agree with you 100% on that. You know, one thing that when we start talking about election, and we can get into that, you know, everybody gets so hung up on parties. But when we get more sophisticated, we will demand more from these parties. A lot of people don't realize the Southern Democrats were really what they call today conservative Republicans. They call them Dixiecrats. And you got a lot of them over there now under the Democratic banner who with that same mentality, obviously. But when I say we need to get more sophisticated, we need to know who we put in these offices, whether they're Black or white. Period. Because we suffer we have suffered almost, I won't say almost, we have suffered more in the last 30 years under black folks being in control. It's shameful. And I'm saying it out loud. I'm saying it out loud because the whole world sees it. Ain't no secret. Ain't no secret. Here we almost 90% of the population. And what do we got to show for it? Bad streets, mismanaged schools, jobs leaving, bad water. And then we have been putting people in office say, oh, the white man, the white man, the white man won't do this and won't do that. Well, a lot of that is true. I just had the state senator Norwood on the program 2 weeks ago who said, Jackson, there's hundreds of thousands of dollars over there in the legislature that Jackson haven't got, that is earmarked for Jackson. And why haven't they gotten it? Because they won't do an audit, which is required of the budget. And the question becomes, why are not audits done? Usually, it's because somebody is hiding something. Now that becomes the issue. Why would the prior mayors not do what's necessary to get money that's earmarked for Jackson, which is do an audit and show the legislature what you've done with the money? People have talked about the federal government taking over our water because it's of the same reason. A lot of times it ain't just racism. A lot of times it's us not doing what we're supposed to do. I'm just telling you now. When the people in the Fed say, well, wait a minute. We don't even know what they've done with their money for the last 3 years. Why would we give them $80 million? That's just a fact. And then when I say to us, we've been putting people over there on the city council, 7 of them, 1 mayor now. I was with Henry Kirkland when he designed this form of government for Jackson for a reason. The people who manage the money for the city of Jackson is those 7 people who sit on the city council. How you gonna manage money and you don't even know what's in it, in the budget? That's an obvious question. How will we have 7 members over there and nobody's raising a fuss about, hey, we haven't got an audit this year, which is supposed to be done every year? I had the comptroller, Miss Vanish, from the county on the program who talked about how she has to do an audit for the county every year. But we've been putting people in office who want to feed us a bunch of hocus pocus while they figure out how to get rich. Bringing in contracts on things that we don't even need. We didn't need these water meters that's charging people $7,000, $8,000 a month. I've had postal carriers telling me that they're taking water bills to houses that's obviously vacant. Burned out houses. From the people who put in our water meters. Why? Well, was our water meters broken? No. Here we got riches that just got the city council voted to give a $100 million contract, 10-year contract, 10-year contract to a waste management company that had already been sued in other municipalities. Was he the best performer? So we be pointing at the mayor all the time, but who let the mayor get away with this? It's the question. The mayor is not a dictator. That's not how it's written up, anyway. The city council don't have to do what the mayor says. Matter of fact, it's the other way around. The city council members are supposed to be going out into their wards, finding out what are the priorities of the citizens in their wards, coming back as a group, putting their heads together and determine which priorities that they're going to focus on, and then give it to the mayor to complete. They don't want us to understand that. They don't want us to know that there's hundreds of thousands of dollars. I read off last week about $2 million, over $2 million. Oh, it's sitting over there right now. And why don't they have it? Because the audit hadn't been done in 3 years. Why would they let the mayor get away with that? Any mayor. Any mayor. So when we start saying, listen, we're going to require these people that we put in these positions understand what we put them there for. And it's not for them to get rich or their friends, who in turn will siphon off to them. You know, the comptroller talked about the $79 million that the county actually has in their budget. Over $300 million goes through the budget for the county, but they have to give it out to other agencies. One, the county schools. The county schools. When they get their budget, what are they doing with it? Most of the public schools in the county are majority Black. That's a fact. Jackson Public Schools. I keep saying this loud and clear. Some of you out there are beginning to hear. The funding, the money that Jackson Public Schools have is $100 million more than the whole budget for the city of Jackson. With less than 17,000 students. Here I had Councilman Vernon Hartley on the show a couple of weeks ago, validating that the budget for the city of Jackson is somewhere around $323 million. That's for a city of over 150,000 citizens, a budget of $323 million. They have to fund all these agencies in the city. And you got a school board over there with a budget of $434 million. A superintendent that's claiming we broke, but they just gave him 2 raises of $50,000 each, and he was already making $230,000 a year. He got 22 assistants under him, whatever they call them now. 22, all making over $100,000 a year. I understand they got a principal for every grade now. You used to go to school, you had a principal for middle school, you had a principal for the high school, or the principal for this middle school, or the principal for the elementary school. Now they got a principal for every grade. And the teachers are the lowest paid in the country. The teachers. The ones who are actually there to teach our students. And they wonder why they're doing so bad on the standardized test when you got classrooms with 38 students in there and no teacher's assistant. with $434 million, they can't come up with programs designed to help the community, parenting programs in the school, programs that really encourage parents to put their children in these schools. With a budget like that, they should have a waiting list. They're losing students. Now, when we say this, why do you say? Because the whole world seeing it. We ought to recognize it now. The whole world sees it. If you don't think I'm not telling the truth, Google it. The information is out there for the world to see. So we listen to people, some of them we've never seen before until they started running for an office. You never hear any of them saying, I don't know what to do, until they get there. Then all of a sudden, this problem was here before I got here, or the white man ain't getting us enough money, or the this or the that, or the other. How much more money do you need over there with $434 million and less than 17,000 students? And a C-rated school district. When we realize that every tax dollar that's spent in Jackson, in Hinds County, Jackson Public School, Hinds County Public School. I want to say Jackson State too. Every tax dollar that's spent is spent under the control of Black people. The city council don't have to ask the legislature over there how to spend this budget in Jackson. Jackson Public Schools don't even have to ask the city council how to spend this budget. So when you see that much money going over there and in a C-rated school district, who we got to blame for that? You can talk about the governor all you want to, but who we got to blame for that? When we look at our budget and we say our water problem started 30 years ago and still ain't fixed, who we got to blame for that? Go ahead, Carly, on there.
Good evening, Judge. Thank you for taking my call.
Yes.
Great show as always. I have to tell you that every week. Great show.
Thank you.
That is so sad. It looks like Shad White needs to come in and do an audit of JPS instead of every day attacking Congressman Thompson.
Mm-hmm.
Because I didn't know that the superintendent had gotten two $50,000 raises.
Yes.
I know he got one, but I didn't know he had gotten two. But he's not going to come in and audit them because he's part of that administration that put him there.
Right.
But it's sad. That is so sad that our children, I don't have any kids in JPS, but I keep up with what's going on. And a lot of schools don't even have the necessary utilities that are working, but you're paying this man all this money.
Right.
It does not make sense. He's definitely stealing from our children and our parents. They need to wake up.
Right. Absolutely.
You know,
right.
wake up.
Right.
You
I
know,
agree with you.
And it's sad.
I agree 100% with you. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you for your call. Because they don't think we watching. Now, that may have been years ago. But as I say, I firmly believe we're not a stupid people. We're not dumb. We can add and subtract. We know what makes sense and what doesn't. Now, we've been ignorant. They tried to keep us that way, but it's hard to do that now. So we didn't have to understand nothing. That's why those black folks who we put in these offices, yeah, they had a plan, but it wasn't for us to get better. It wasn't. And that's obvious. That's obvious. That Councilman Hartley said on the show a couple weeks ago, if you got a elected official that's getting rich, he's a crook. Or she. So when we help them understand, we're watching you now. We're watching you now. You can compare DeSoto County with a school district of 38,000 students, operating budget of about 235 million, 38,000 students, 235 million budget, and A rated. And their superintendent is not getting paid what this one here is getting paid. Now, if that was in corporate America, do you think they would be awarding a CEO a bonus? These are the questions when we start asking, why are they so happy with him? Where is this money going? Well, look around us, see what they're doing over there at Jackson Academy and Jackson Prep, and how much remodeling and whatever else they got going on. The white charter schools. So somebody called in and said, we need to get our own school. Well, that's what I'm trying to tell you. We have our own school. It's called JPS. That's where our tax money going. And we're almost 90% of the population. And about 98% of the school students. You'd be hard pressed to find a white student past elementary school in Jackson Public School. Now, back in the day, the schools were segregated by law. But they figured out how to segregate them now just by economics. Most families can't afford these private white charter schools. And our kids are going to school with all this money over there and no resources. So when we realize our strength is in voting, nationally, we don't start we not supposed to draw the lines on a racial. Well, why are you redrawing them then? If you're not supposed to draw the lines based on race demographics, the lines are already drawn, so what you going to redraw them to do? We're not supposed to be able to observe this and understand that. But there's a time now. You can't keep people in slavery forever. Once people get a taste of freedom, you ain't gonna come back around and say, "I'm okay. It's time. Freedom time is up now. Time to go back to being slave." That ain't gonna work nowhere. Nowhere. So I'm saying to us, not only do we look at what the mayor is doing, look at what your council person is doing. Because they're the ones that's supposed to be keeping the mayor in order, not vice versa. They're the ones that do that. You ask them, why did you vote? Why did you vote to give $33 million to a law firm out of Alabama when we got law firms in Mississippi, let alone we have a city legal department. Why? Well, they needed the reason. We needed a law firm that was financially strong enough to negotiate with Siemens. The law firm that they gave $33 million to didn't go to court at all. Didn't take any depositions at all. Signed an agreement that Siemens put together and got $33 million. And then, just recently, what our mayor said to us, we 23, well, but they would say it's 30 million, but Councilman Hartley said, well, no, we find it's actually 23 million. Well, whoop-de-doo. How would should that be happening with 7 people over there monitoring the budget? That's the question to our council persons. And then you ask, well, who voted for these $33 million go there? With that excuse or reason, or however they want to give it. But what put fear in those who are not intending to do right, white or black, is when they see we are becoming educated enough, intelligent enough, sophisticated enough to register and vote and watch. That's the responsibility of a citizen. That's the responsibility of a citizen. As the saying goes, freedom ain't free. Now, intelligent people understand that. Freedom ain't free. Freedom comes with responsibility. And that's how intelligent people live their life. So I say to us, I hear people all the time, we're waking up. We're waking up. We ain't getting happy just because we see a black face in a position. Just because we did in the past. But whoever we put in these positions, they're going to have to make things work for us. We have to know where our money is going, how it's being spent, and who's benefiting from it. Because as I say to us, you are a taxpayer. If you live in, more likely you're a taxpayer. Well, I don't have a job. Do you spend money? Not even taking consider where you get it from. Do you spend money? You can't spend money in this economy without paying taxes. That's the law. So anytime you buy groceries, buy clothes, buy gas, or whatever, you become a taxpayer. Go ahead, Carl.
Yes, sir. Thank you for taking my phone call.
Yes, sir.
But you put out some very important information.
Thank you.
But sound like to me, you need to run for the mayor of the council.
Well, I attempted it one time. That was a trick pull on me. But okay, I appreciate your confidence.
But look, let me get your number before you get off the air. I need to call you off the air.
I'll give you my office number. If you call me during the day, I will put my cell number out there right now because I get you a call. 601-202-6027.
Thank you, sir. You have a blessed day.
Appreciate the call. I don't care what anybody is saying. We are as the people waking up. We are. And I said at the beginning of the show, those white folks, and not all of them are in this mindset. You have to think of Warner and Goodman. These are two white guys who came down here during the 60s and gave their life. They were brutally murdered. For what? Registering black people to vote. White folks. Other white folks who were beaten and killed. Right. Well, right now you got that Charlie Kirk mindset. We got to keep America white. They're realizing we as African Americans, statistics say we are 25% of the population. We used to be the largest minority in the country, number-wise. Hispanics are now. So if we're 25%, they got to be more than 25%. So that's more than 50% of the population that's not white already. That's what they fear. That's what they're fearing. You have a call? Go ahead, call. I'm good. Is that Reverend Jackson? I hadn't heard you in a minute, man. You all right?
Yeah.
I'm down to the end of my show. Try to be brief. I got another call I got to take.
Yeah, what I want to say tonight, George, if we don't vote and vote this time, we're doing.
Well, we got to do
We're
it.
doing.
We got to do
We
it.
got to do it. We got to do it.
And they should hear it. They should hear it. They should hear it coming from a veteran like you who was out there on the front line with those of us who knew what the struggle was. They should hear it coming from you, Reverend Jackson.
You know what? I tell people all the time, they think it's a joke. It's no joke.
It's not. It's not.
Hey, we went to jail in the garbage truck with magazines.
That's right.
For these fellas, sit down there and I listen how them say how they been paid. I remember the time Negro didn't have that kind of money. When he did pay, he'd move out of Jackson and go to Madison.
They still doing it, Reverend Jackson. We got people who sitting in the mayor's office for years who do that.
It's time.
Yes, yes.
Enough is enough. Brothers, if y'all don't get out of the gate, if white man can come in the house and lay in the bed with your wife, if you think I'm lying, keep doing what you're doing.
Now that's heavy, brother. That's heavy.
Listen, they're gonna take over. They don't want you to have nothing. They want you to give them more land. No. They can't be citizens when I touch your knee. The little bit of thank you, and as we speak now, there's a little man looking up stuff on you. We're gonna recognize it. Is it all right for us to come on your show? It's not against the law for us to come on your show and recognize you.
I know, sir, Reverend Jackson. Well, if you do, I'll be going with you, brother. I got another cut. Thank you so much. I got to take this call. Thank you, Reverend Jackson. Yes, sir. All right. Is that one? Okay, we got you. Go ahead, Carter. You're on there. Turn your volume down, Cap.
I would listen to you just seconds ago, you was speaking about the population,
Yes, sir.
the people of color, and the Mexican that's in this country. Now, what you said was a profound statement based on that. But here what bothers me. How can we make that work for the two different ethnic groups? How can we make it work, put that together, make it work so we can put our people and their people in position of power?
Well, I would say it comes through education, man. We got to educate each other that we all in this thing together. See that, I know, Cab, I've heard you say it yourself before. You know about that Willie Lynch theory where you divide and conquer. And see, as long as those bigoted mindsets understand, as long as they can keep the people that's impoverished and struggling battling against each other, they ain't gonna have time to battle against them. And that's how they try to make it. The Mexican battling against the black folks and the black folks battling against the Mexicans when they're treating us all like slaves. So a mindset like yours, brother, you gonna help us get this thing out here. I believe.
Well, that would be what, to me, that each group should be focusing on.
Right.
Because the Caucasian Edomite persons, they against both sides.
Right.
Why not pool our resources together and come up with a plan? I've always said that, people of color should stick together no matter what country they're from.
Exactly.
But in the end, it's going to benefit the people of color more than anyone else.
And then we all supposed to benefit from this thing. But see, that's what the bigoted mind is, Cap. They can't see, if we say we are melting pot, then we all supposed to have equal opportunity, as they say, regardless of ethnicity or color. But that mindset that they put in people is that they don't live that way. I think, and I know, there are those white folks who understand how rough, how evil they have treated us as a people, that they think all we have in mind is to try to get even with them. Some of us have moved past that, man.
They will be out there because they're more at stake than just hit the past.
Yes, sir.
We need our people to enjoy the same amenities and things that they're enjoying without suffering every day of our lives.
Exactly.
And without walking in fear about whether we should go and vote or not because something might happen to one of our relatives.
Right.
See, we don't need to fear. America shouldn't be about that.
Right.
And that's why we need to come up with a plan and get these people out of office that are promoting that, just like our president and the Congress up there and the Supreme Court.
Right.
That was the worst thing that'll happen to the United States is no term limits on justice.
Right. Oh, yeah, man. I agree with you right there, man. I agree. And the only reason, when we had Thurgood Marshall up there, and he stayed as long as he could, man, because he was that one voice up there that kind of kept things on an even keel. But that's why we were along with it. But now you got the Clarence Thomases up there, and man, I can go into that. But appreciate the call, man. I'm down to the end, man.
Thank you, sir. But let me say right quick now. That's why we need to band together so we can get these people out of these positions, make changes.
Yes,
make
sir.
Changes that's going to benefit America.
Yes, sir. You're right.
Not white supremacy.
Right.
Thank you.
Thank you. And see, with that, here in our state politics, see, everybody statewide has to run for office at some point. Even the justices up there, they have to run for office. So when they realize, when I get up here and start acting like a Charlie Kirk, I ain't gonna be here long, because these people vote. I ain't gonna be able to, like I say, when we realize that being sophisticated and intelligent, we don't always get to determine exactly who's sitting in a seat, but we can definitely determine who won't be there. They know that. They know that. So that's why we can get together and then say, okay, I might not like this, all this person's politics, but it's better than this one over here. And I know we ain't gonna have that one. See, they understand that. We getting to that point. We getting to that point. So we need to realize that, you know, that they really mean it when they say we trying to keep America white. They looking at the numbers. At one time, we as African Americans used to be the largest minority in the country. At over 20-some%. 25. And now you got Hispanics, a larger portion of the population than we are now. So that automatically means that at least 50% of America now is non-white. They see it. They see the handwriting on the wall. That's why they doing all, they scrambling. They scrambling. Trying to say, what can we put together to dilute this voting strength? And it's going to be hard pressed in Mississippi to do it. With 28 counties already majority black. And the whole state approaching 40%. So they're going to be hard pressed in Mississippi. So if we take care of our doorstep, take care of Jackson, almost 90%. Take care of Hinds County, almost 90%. Take care of Jackson Public School, where all this money is going, that it ain't benefiting our children. Y'all be shaming themselves. Really. So we're going to keep putting this information out here. We're going to keep doing it. Because as I say, we're not dumb. We're not stupid. We've been ignorant. But we're going to cure that. So this is Ali Shamsuddin, standing for the people. And every Wednesday, 7 p.m. I want to hear from you. I appreciate all your calls. Let's keep it moving, people. That's where it is. Take us out, Lady Cherie.
Program of those in the host, guests, and callers, and do not necessarily reflect the views or policies of WNPR Radio, its management, supporters, or affiliates. WNPR reserves the right to screen, edit, or refuse content that does not align with our broadcast standards.